Right guys, so just going over my supplements here for obviously my pre and intra workout. Now, I have covered these in lots of videos, but I always get questioned about them, especially on Insta, so I'll just kind of cover them again on here, and then hopefully if people don't watch it, then they'll probably still ask me. But we've got pre-workout here, which is simply just defib. I always use this one, and this goes in obviously 99% of my sessions anyway. Flavour of choice tonight for chest is Fizzy Candy Crush. And then intra workout, first of all, we've just got the essential amino acid, which is just no code. This is going to be stacked with carb up, which is obviously going to be the intra carb. Now, per 34 grams of carb up right here, we are going to take 28 grams of carbohydrates. So I usually like to take in anywhere from between 30 and 50 grams of carbohydrates in between, obviously, all of my sessions. For legs and back, I will take in a little bit more, but obviously for tonight anyway, we are only going to take in 30. So carb up will be stacked with no code, and defib will obviously be pre-workout. So of course guys, I am sponsored by HR Labs. Not necessarily why I'm plugging, because I have always used HR Lab supplements, but I do have a code which is just KHIFIE15, so I will stick that on the screen, maybe somewhere like here, maybe. But yeah, I'll also drop the link in the description box below. You can shoot over there, check it out, pick up some goodies, pick up some pre-workouts, some intra-workouts, some fat burners. They do everything. But yeah, that is going to be it. Now we are going to hit some chest. Right, so one of the biggest and most often questions that I always get asked is to do with warming up. And how do I warm up for bench press, for example? How do I warm up for deadlifts? How do I warm up for legs? And it's simple. I literally just grab a 2.5 kilo plate or a 2.5 kilo dumbbell. I also have a band here as well. I usually just grab at least like a 2 or 3 kilo dumbbell and just perform things like side raises, front raises, bicep curls, anything from bent over rows, squats, absolutely everything, just to make sure that everything is loose, everything's ready, everything's feeling warm, and even just to get a little bit of blood within the muscles. It just makes it easier whenever I go into like my first warm-up set. Obviously with things like a bench press, for example, I will still do warm-up sets. I will always do warm-up sets for deadlifts, squats, any particular move that I'm on. But just to make sure that I am feeling ready, because sometimes I can come in and I will be tight. So it's just making sure that before going into something that I know I'm going to perform a heavier weight with, it's just getting everything warmed up from head to toe. So I will always warm up the full body regardless, whether I'm just training a small upper body, something, for example arms, or for example shoulders. I will always make sure that my lower body's warmed up as well, because when you think about it, on something like a bench press, it's going to require leg drive, so we always want to make sure that we are getting the absolute most out of everything. We're maximising everything, so we're maximising our ability to perform at 100% within every single exercise. So it's nice and easy, just grab a light weight, chuck it about for 5-10 minutes, and then you'll be good to go. I really just wanted to jump on here quickly and kind of go over something that, as a coach myself, I frequently get asked loads of questions regarding warm-ups and how to warm up efficiently to the point where you know you're warmed up enough to be able to go into obviously your first exercise, for example, but not warm up to the point where you're overexerting energy to the point where you'll go into your first exercise and you'll be a little bit fatigued. So as you would have seen obviously with the chest session that I had at the very start of the session, I've not got anything against jumping onto something like a cross trainer or a treadmill or a stairs, for example. I've got nothing against that. It's just personally not for me, so I feel as if something like that's kind of person dependent. I always recommend that towards my clients, which is something that is obviously quite a big thing because obviously I don't do that myself. But again, I do feel as if it's always person dependent. I don't always say that my clients have to do it. I will always recommend it to them for an example of what's something they could do. But at the same time, I don't say it as 110% essential. I do always give an essential warm-up procedure, but at the same time, I don't always give essential things down the lines of obviously jumping onto a treadmill for 5-10 minutes, jumping onto a cross trainer or stairs, blah blah blah, all of that kind of stuff. So as you would have seen, what I do is I obviously grab either a light dumbbell or a light plate, something down the lines of a 2.5 kilo dumbbell, nothing too strenuous, nothing too heavy, something I know that I would literally be able to perform millions of reps with, and I literally warm up the full body before going into any sort of session whatsoever. That could be a leg session or an arm session, shoulder session, whatever. Nothing ever changes down that line, so I don't have like a specific warm-up for one session that I won't have for the next. Even on things like obviously like you would have seen my chest sessions, I will always warm up my lower body as well, just due to the fact that in sessions that we are going to be pushing quite a bit of weight, we are going to require a lot of leg drive, so I wouldn't see the point in not warming up our legs for something like that. So I then obviously moved on to a band. Again, what I like to do is I like to obviously warm up my rotator cuffs, I like to warm up my shoulders, I like to make sure that my flexibility is where it needs to be for obviously going into these exercises, that my ability to be able to perform these exercises to the absolute most is obviously going to be the key. So if I could go into an exercise knowing that my flexibility is pretty stiff at that time, and I'm not going to be able to get locked into the point where I will progress at that kind of top level, because once it gets to the point where we are looking to progress by potentially one rep at a very heavy weight, which the chances of progressing is like nowhere near 100%, just down to the point of it being so heavy and it's going to be so taxing. So it's like these smaller warm-ups beforehand are going to be like that 1% obviously to help you progress obviously on the weights. So it just comes down to the point of, I would always recommend grabbing something down the lines of a light dumbbell, a light plate such as a 1.25 or a 2.5. Perform exercises like I showed at the start of the video: side raises, front raises, bicep curls, tricep extensions, bent over rows, squats. You could even go down the lines of lunges. I like air squats just to kind of make sure that obviously everything is loose, everything's warmed up in the lower half. But it's making sure that you do that, but don't do that too much. So I would give myself like maybe 5 to 8 minutes at the start of a session just to make sure that obviously I do this. I wouldn't necessarily look to go down the lines of 15 to 20 minutes stretch, and I just think that's, unless you've got that time, I know a lot of people don't have that time, and 15 to 20 minutes eating into your session is a long time. So it's like more so you're looking towards the efficiency side of things of warming up if you don't have all day to train. If you do have all day to train, then fine, fair enough, that's cool, do that. But if you don't have all day to train and you maybe only have, for example, an hour and a half, then I probably would look down the lines more of warming up within the kind of first 5 to 10 minutes of that session. Just the pre-session warm-up, not obviously including your warm-ups within these exercises. So like for example on a bench press where I would do the bar, I would do 60 kilo, 100 kilo, 140. All of these warm-up sets are obviously excluding this pre-session warm-up, which is obviously what I'm kind of going over. Moving into obviously exercise choices, exercise selections, how you're going to warm up within these exercises. Like this is another thing that I do always get asked, is how many warm-up sets should I be doing? Again, there is no right and wrong answer for this. Some exercises are going to require 2 or 3 or 4 warm-up sets, and some exercises near the kind of latter part of the session when your exercises are much smaller, the smaller isolated exercises that might only require one warm-up set, they might require no warm-up sets, it just totally depends. I know something like a dumbbell lateral raise that I would jump into kind of near the end of the session may require one warm-up set one night, but then the next night I might be able to just be feeling perfectly fine just to go straight in at, say for example, 12.5s or 15s. So again, it's just making sure that you're going by how you feel, listen to your body and how it's feeling. That'll obviously dictate how many warm-up sets you need on these exercises. Like I said at the start of the session, you are going to require quite a few more warm-up sets, especially on the bigger compound moves that you know that you can't literally just go from one plate aside to, if you were doing a hack squat, 4 or 5 plates aside, or a barbell squat for that matter. I would go 70, 120, 170, 220. So it's like before you're even at one working set or your first working set, you're already like 4 or 5 warm-up sets deep. So it's just making sure that obviously before this you are fresh and these warm-up sets will be that kind of dictator of how your working sets go, usually anyway. I'm not saying that happens all of the time, but usually that happens. So it's just making sure that you're warmed up prior to your warm-up sets. So always, like, do not forget about that part. There's always warm-up sets that do count, and the warm-up sets obviously are a kind of big focus within these sessions, but you've always got that warm-up before the initial warm-up sets start. So it's just making sure that you obviously get through that, making sure that you don't push it to the point where you are fucked going into your warm-up sets. You still want to be very, very, very fresh going into them, but it's just making sure that the whole body's ready. I know, obviously I am still a baby in this, and I will forever say that probably until I'm like 50 or something like that, but I am still a baby in this. And one of the things that I very quickly realised was warming up is very important. Warming up the full body is very important. I used to always just kind of skip past warm-ups very quickly, and I would literally just jump straight into my first exercise. And don't get me wrong, I would still perform warm-up sets in my first exercise, but it just got to the point where it was never enough, and then these warm-up sets became even quicker and quicker, and I would be making sillier jumps because I would be making bigger jumps to the point where once I got to my working sets, I would never progress. So it's always going to be one of them things now that regardless what I'm training, like I said, whether it's legs or whether it's arms, I'm always going to be warming up and always going to be making sure that these things are took into consideration and these things are the priority. So just the kind of couple of take home things from these, always just remember your warm up before the warm up sets. It's always going to be the biggest thing at the very start, and one of the other biggest things is just don't put too much into your initial warm-up of the session. If you do really feel you need to, then that is fine, fair enough, make sure you've got the time for that. But time efficiency wise, if you don't have the time, don't fuck about, just make sure you get warm, make sure you get warm enough, make sure you're loose and you're ready to be able to obviously stabilise any form of weight to the best that you can. That's another thing, make sure that mobility is on point, make sure flexibility is ready to go, and you'll be grand. I really just wanted to kind of come on here, cover this. I have got a few more videos lined up that I do want to cover. More so the kind of informative side of things, because I do get asked quite a few questions on the old Instagram, and sometimes it's just not enough to kind of go over it on there. So if I can bring it to YouTube again, then really it's only going to be a little bit more helpful for you guys as well. So if you're able to take something from these videos, then that's perfect. I don't even know if you can hear that. That is the alarm on the roof, and it is really fucking me off. But I'm going to have to get that fixed. But yeah, like I said, just so if you guys can take anything from this, absolutely fantastic. I think that is going to be it for this video, guys. Chest done for another week. It was successful. We were back up to a 175 paused bench, which again is relatively okay considering I have only ever paused a 180. We are on the road to 200. A 200 bench has kind of been the set in stone, the goal for a little while now. It's just a case of getting settled on this new bench, on the new bars, the new weights. The primal strength is just like, it's different gravy altogether. I just find everything so fucking heavy, but we're just kind of moving on with it. So 200 bench, we're at 175 post, we will just move up to 180 post next, and again the 140 back off post for 8. If we can get that to 12, then that'll be really nice, and then I will move up to 150 and 160 post. But these are just intensity strategies, guys, that I'm using to obviously help get my bench back up to where it was, but I will leave that for another video. I don't want to go over that right now. I do hope you guys have enjoyed this video though. If you have enjoyed it, then please don't forget to drop the video a like for me, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you all in the next video.